Hello and welcome to Spotlight Indie. We're so pleased to have you here, and we're so pleased to have back this week with us Kerstin Espinosa Rosero. Welcome back, Kerstin. It's a pleasure to have you.
Yeah, thanks for welcoming me back.
Absolutely. We would not have it any other way. You've been an absolute delight last week, so we're so thrilled to have you. And Fraser, hello again to you, my friend. How are you doing?
I am doing so good. I have been freeing so many kestrels in my spare time, and all of the falcons that I know are not being used in the postal service. So I've had a great week.
I'm very pleased to hear it, and that does explain all the pictures Holly's been sending me of just you surreptitiously with birds under your arms. I was getting worried.
Yeah, yeah. Birds with feathers. That's it. Yeah, that's been me. Yeah, they call me a feathers Armitage now, which is good. So yeah.
Perfect. Right. I look forward to Feathers' next book. Speaking of books, for those of anyone who has missed last week's episode, A, go and watch it. But B, Kerstin, can you just give us a quick intro to yourself and your books for anyone who's not sure what your books are?
All right. Well, I am Kerstin Espinosa Rosero, but sometimes I go by K.E. Rosero. And I still wish I'd come up with a better system for when to use which variation of name, but I am the same person. I have written Burn Red Skies, the Burn Red Skies series, the first two books. They are about interdimensional dragons, elemental magic, airship smugglers, and sword lesbians. Why do I keep glitching after this pitch? I'm gonna let everyone settle with that real quick. But yes, that's who I am.
I think that's just, you've loaded on so many awesome things that you know instinctively that people need a moment to just adjust.
I think that's it. I'm so sorry.
It's one of the things we learned last week. So go back and watch last week, and then you'll see
the same glitch.
Yeah. See, this is consistency, right? This is episode consistency. Yeah. This is so professional, guys. Like this is
professional and relatable. I think anytime someone asks you to talk about yourself, you say something and then you just glitch.
Exactly.
Like Vanellope von Schweetz, which is a Wreck-It Ralph reference.
Yeah, I'm enjoying the fact
that I think we all just glitched at the same time.
Yeah.
And immediately I was like, I need more context for that.
Yeah, Wreck-It Ralph. That's it, guys. I'm bringing out the big guns. I'm going for the Gen Z viewers. I'm going relevant. Is Wreck-It Ralph even relevant anymore? Honestly,
I don't want to look up when Wreck-It Ralph was released, because
I know that will make me feel really old. Yeah.
So last week we talked about Kerstin's books and the world and that sort of side of things. So this time we're going to look a little bit more at kind of indie publishing and or the indie space, and what you've maybe the challenges and what you might have learned from those kind of creative spaces. And then we've got a lovely game called Roll for Insight. So one of the things that we touched on last week, and I found very interesting, is the fact that you're an illustrator as well as an author. So you kind of professionally pull these two strands together.
It's challenging enough having one creative revenue stream coming in for books. You have two, because you have your art and your writing. What impact does running both of those creative businesses present to you? What is involved in having both of those things professionally? So it's not like you're running one hobby alongside another. You're running one business alongside another. So what's involved in that side of things? Because a lot of indie creatives feel so overwhelmed. I know I do, just with the writing. I can't imagine having like a second creative passion that I'm trying to monetize. So it's for any indies who are watching, I think they'd be fascinated with how you managed to actually do it.
Well, I think it is quite challenging having both, of course. Having like one creative pursuit is also like, we do what we love and it's, we have passion for it, but it is kind of draining because focus so much, you put so much of like your heart into this one thing. And having two of those things, you're like, so I could see like at least with writing, like it's your own world basically. You are in charge of every single aspect of this world. Like how does it look? Like what are the characters like? What is the story like? You can, if you're stuck on a plot point, just roll a d20. Are they gonna make it out of this like alive, or success with the cost sort of thing? Like you control every single aspect of a book that you write basically. Um, and that's the cool part about being an indie author, at least for me, because I have like full reign over these people's lives, which sounds like completely psychotic. But like you just have like you have a say basically in everything of this world. And with an artist, like trying to doing art on the side, you have to surrender the reins a little, because if you're doing art for someone, for someone's world, it's not up to you. um, so I think the way that I kind of make peace with having both is that I have one world that's completely mine, which is like indie writing, or just writing this fantasy world where people, suffer or succeed based on my mood, or maybe based on the roll of the dice. But then, like with art, you're creating a world, but you're having sort of guidelines for that world. You're helping someone sort of bring their own worlds to life, and that's, I think, a different kind of creative well. um and for me, like writing a book is like, I don't want to say draining, but you know what I mean, right? It does take a lot out of you. But at least with art, like you're sort of working with someone else to create this world. um so it's a different kind of it's a different kind of pain. This sounds awful, but like it's a different kind of like in German, you would say like Herzblut, like which means just like heart and blood, which sounds even more terrifying. But it's just like you put more of your heart into it. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry.
No, it's totally. What's the German word?
Herzblut,
Herzblut.
like the heart of your blood.
Herzblut.
Like
I love that.
it's like because you put like your heart into these projects, right?
Yeah.
So that's how I keep those two spheres apart. The problem comes when I'm drawing for myself, like for my own books or like my own projects, which I haven't done yet. But I will in the future. And I'm already terrified about, having complete say in that visual aspect of the work as well.
Das ist sehr Herzblut.
Yeah, that's pretty much Herzblut.
No,
My German friends are going to be watching this and be like, "What the hell, Kirsten?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Of all the words to like, you went with
Yeah.
heart, blood.
Hey, honestly, like it could have been worse. There's lots of German words you could have brought in that would have, but I feel like one thing that's really interesting about that is that with your art, you're having a much more collaborative experience, whereas with your writing, it feels like it's done in a lot in isolation.
Right.
Have you ever had the opportunity to be collaborative with your writing in any capacity? Like, have you had sort of like beta readers? Have you had like feedback on it? Have you been involved with any kind of projects and things like that which involved other people, or have you always just written solo?
I have been involved in projects involving other people. I'm not just in my room all day, contrary to popular belief. But like, I've written short stories as part of anthologies, had beta readers, and that collaborative aspect is nice. Like I love it. And I feel like as an author, I need it. I need feedback. I was like, hey, does this make sense what I'm writing? Basically, like, it's all in our heads. It makes sense in here, but when you put it out on paper, like you need a bit of feedback, reassurance that, all right, I can kind of understand what you're trying to say. Um, but ultimately, it's up to us. Like even with feedback, like, I'm open to it. I accept most changes because, that's who I am. Like I accept a lot of, most of the feedback, but sometimes when it comes to like a plot point that I definitely want to have, like it's still up to me, right? So I think it's different because in art, I do not have the final say. Like if you are working with some other with another author, for example, and that's totally fine. Um, that's the point, right? Like, um,
Yeah, that's really cool.
so yeah.
I'm really glad that you've had the collaborative experience on the writing side as well. It's I love collaboration, but being an indie author, it's like it's much rarer that you're collaborating with other people, which is a shame really. But I'm really glad you've experienced that. That's very, very cool.
Like when I started out writing Burn Red Skies, I didn't know anyone in the author community. Like I just went like, hey, I'm gonna write these words. Maybe my mom will read it, whatever. So I just wrote it. Um, like I had people read over it, but just in a sort of general, like, does this make sense sort of thing. And of course, like if you ask your friends, they're gonna be super nice. And I was very grateful for that. But I just sort of like YOLO'd and published it. Um, and it was quite lonely. I didn't know about beta readers. I didn't know that you could talk to other authors. I didn't know that other authors were there. Like I said, I was always on Insta, and I put in my book for Spiffbo 7. And I didn't know what Spiffbo was. Like a friend of mine just told me, "Hey, just like apply for it, like upload your ebook, and then who knows what'll happen." So I didn't know it was an actual thing, and I'm so sorry to my to my Spiffbo friends and family, but I did not know that this was a thing. Like I thought it was just like you submit it, people read it. If you win, they'll let you know, and if you lose, like they won't talk to you ever again. Like, and I was on Insta, I wasn't on Facebook, I wasn't on what is now X, so I missed the entire gladiatorial fight about Spiffbo. Like I was living in bliss, like just completely like oblivious to everything going on in the fantasy community, indie fantasy. So I didn't know I was a finalist until folks asked me for a finalist interview. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? And they finally told me, like, what are you doing, Kirsten? Go on Facebook. Because that's apparently, that's where like the dialogue's happening, the conversations about Spiffbo, like what Spiffbo actually was. And and at the time Twitter. So peer pressure made me sign up for Twitter. Oh goodness, that was so draining. But because it was the indie fantasy community, I felt super loved and embraced. So I don't regret that part. But that's where I found a lot of, fellow authors, a lot of artists and readers. And that's when I kind of like discovered the collaborative aspect of writing. Because I think a lot of folks, especially when they're starting out, they always sort of have this image of authors as being solitary and isolated and kind of crabby, which I mean in my case it's true, I'm pretty crabby, but like um that it's just all in isolation, like that we're very like stubborn, like we're gonna write this, or my favorite, if I don't like you, I'm gonna like write you as a character that I'll do things to. I haven't done that. I don't know if you guys have done that, but I sure haven't. But just like those sorts of things, like it's very solitary, like we're very like crabby. um so having experienced that with Burn Red Skies, like having no one, aside from my lovely friends who thank you for reading my work, um, to writing my second book, where suddenly I had friends. It sounds so sad, but like suddenly I had like I had more author friends. I had more, like I found out what a beta reader was. Like I found out what an alpha reader was. I found out what a reader was. Like that sort of thing. Like how to market your book even, right? Like you can approach book bloggers, you can approach book reviewers, you can approach like folks for a cover reveal, that sort of thing. Came at me with the second book. So I had like both experiences of writing in complete isolation and then writing with an entire community as support. So like I would, like my advice, and no one asked for it, I know, but like if you're like starting out as an indie author, like the best thing that you can do is find your people, find fellow author friends, but not with any goal, just like just be friends, be real, like learn from other experiences, and then be open to other people learning from your experiences, and that really makes like writing a book a lot less lonely, and as it should be, because because my experience writing Burn Red Skies, like I love it. It's my book baby. It's my debut, but it was really lonely. Um, like don't be like me. Like, no, like be like me in my second book. Like I was happier. Like
Well,
basically.
as you say, without you don't want to go into those kind of communities or trying to find like all the friends with a sort of any kind of
Right.
surreptitious goals, but just having those people who you can be like, oh man, it's really tough today. Like I've been like headbutting the keyboard and
Right.
it's not working, and then everyone will be like, "Oh, I had those days. Like I had one last week," or they'll just be able to just have that community and support network who understands what you're going through.
Absolutely. And the question was also like collaborative, right? And that's a really important word because a lot of folks, like they start out thinking that it's a competitive business. And I mean, once you think about it, like capitalism and all, yeah, sure. Like, but like, you know, just because someone buys one book doesn't mean they will never read my book, like sort of thing. That's nonsense. And I think people who have that mindset entering um this community, like starting off their author careers with this mindset in mind are going to be at quite a disadvantage because like you don't want to, I mean, you're not going to make enemies, like it sounds so dramatic, but it's like but it's like your author friends aren't your competition, like it's only by collaborating with your author friends, talking to them, talking about the struggles, especially, it's making a business out of our writing, trying to make a living from our writing. um those are challenges that we're all facing, and it just makes more sense to face them together. And I think like learning from your author friends, I think that's such an invaluable experience, and them learning from you, right? It's not just like a only take, but I think exchanging ideas and experiences, I think that's really what gives you like such an advantage especially when you're starting out,
I think like the idea of supporting one another being a collaborative endeavor is a really lovely one, but it leads to growth. Like just thinking from the
Right.
art perspective, right? When you learn to do art, you study the techniques of the masters, but if you still had them around, right? And around you, these people who are masters of their craft, chatting to them and getting their support, it's kind of like it'd be a dream come true. Like you would feel over the moon to be able to do that.
Right.
Just ask sort of, you know, like, just any of the greats, like Salvador Dali. Like, okay, so melting clocks, what was with that? Like, I would love to do that. We have that with our author friends, right? Because we are all like, I know I view them as like masters of their craft, and it's like we can just chat, and it's a lovely, lovely experience. You end up sort of you've got these superheroes of creativity that you end up just picking their brains over, and it leads to growth. It leads to you wanting to push yourself harder and further, and it leads to you learning more about the craft. And without collaboration, I think that it's a very quiet thing that you're doing. But with collaboration, it feels like what you're doing actually is really big and it really matters. And I get a lot from that. So I'm so happy you had that with book number 2, because that's just the best. I just love it.
I think that also feeds into what Kirsten, what you were saying about like your author friends or other authors aren't really your competition. Like it's very easy to think that when you come at this sort of industry fresh from other places, where if somebody buys this phone, they don't buy that phone. But if
Right.
somebody buys somebody were to buy Fraser's book, then they're probably also going to buy like your book. Like they're not mutually exclusive. And I always think of that like picture where you're looking at that ancient, I'm sure, meme where like somebody's bringing a cake up to a table, like that little comic, and they're like, "Oh man, somebody else has made a cake. Oh, damn it, I'm putting it down." But then like somebody else comes up and like, "Oh my god, 2 cakes! This is great!" And like that's from what you were saying, Fraser, about your viewing that they're your peers, they're these masters at their craft. So if once they've written a book, you get to read a book by somebody who's really good at this. So, and it's such a unique thing to like put your words down on paper and the story that you're telling down on paper, that even if you were both to write like if I were to pick interdimensional dragons with sword lesbians and airships and elemental magic, my version would be so different anyway to
Right.
Burn Red Skies that, yeah, like somebody would read Burn Red Skies and obviously it's amazing, but then if I've got like a different thing that hits the similar notes, nobody's gonna be like, well, I've already read that. Yeah, we did that, thank you. Like, people are going to look at it and be like, oh, there's a different version, that's great, I'll see what's different. So I think it's really important to go into it with a just excited for collaboration, excited for friends, excited for like read what people can make and like just see the unique spheres and worlds that they make with their own minds.
Right, like with Swiftbow, I keep coming back to that because it was my first ever like author experience, like just sort of jumping into this competition. Which is actually like a literal competition, right? So you'd expect like, oh no, like, one of us is gonna win or blah blah blah. And yeah, that's the nature of the competition. But I have to say, like, our finalist group of that year, we were so close. Like, trauma connected us. Like, we were just they were just, my besties for that year. And we're in a literal competition. We were the 10 finalists basically waiting for like who's going to win, but like we didn't see it like that at all, which is interesting for a competition, right? But I think like we supported each other through that terrible year. Like I think everyone who's ever entered Spiffo was like nodding, like, yeah, it was, like just the experience, because like, it's your baby, it's your Herzblut. But everyone is putting in their Herzblut into what it sounds so angry. Sorry, I didn't mean it to sound terrifying. But still, like, it was like I said, just a competition, and we were in a sense competing for the first spot, but it didn't feel like that at all. And it felt like we were just all 10 people writing books, like, all 300, all the authors who made it into that round before cutoff. We're just like 300 people writing books about stuff we found interesting, like, and some of it was weird, and like I know, because I also write weird things, and it's just like, we're all having fun, we're all putting ourselves out there, and we're all trying to get better at our craft, like, so I think being open to that sort of feedback, being open to, like, it's just such a good experience, Biffbo, in general, because it gets you sort of conditioned to the fact that, all right, some readers will love your book, some readers will absolutely hate it. But in the end, it's all subjective, it's all art, and we're all just here, humans making art. There's no reason for it to be competitive,
Yeah, like you don't go into a gallery and being like, okay, I'm going to rate them 1 to 10. You go into a gallery and you're like, wow, isn't this amazing seeing all these works of art together? And it's like, that's how it should be with books. However, I'm going to say this to you, Kirsten. If I do write fan fiction in the world of Burnt Red Skies, it's going to be about a firecaster who goes into the ice lands, and they are going to be called Herzblut. That's they're going to be in their name. 100%, right?
I'd read it.
Totally right.
Okay, so as part of this week's episode, we're going to play Roll for Insight. So we have all collected a d20 from around ourselves. So we're going to roll, and then we've got a list of questions. So the number we roll will be a question on the list. So we're going to start with Kirsten. So if you would like to roll the dice, and we'll see what question we get.
I got a 6.
If you could write from anywhere in the world, where would you choose to write from and why?
Like, if I could physically travel to anywhere in the world for like inspiration, New Zealand, are you kidding? For reasons that some people might not be able to explain, but I mean, no, like, I would say New Zealand.
Perfect. Yeah, that's a very strong answer.
I think, like, I just stopped talking after that because I think a lot of folks would understand why. Like, it has inspired quite a monumental work of fantasy. Or at least like the setting for it. Yeah.
Imagine being able to put your desk in the place where Viggo Mortensen opened those doors. That would just be just
You mean,
channeling
you
that
mean the Green
energy.
Book?
Yeah. Yeah, he's the guy from the Green Book. Yeah.
Oh,
You just push. Imagine just putting your writing desk there and being like, that would be bliss, right?
I've actually been to New Zealand before, and I did go to all of, like, not all, but places where these scenes were filmed, like the door scene. The door scene. I know,
You've touched
Fraser,
those doors.
I could
What?
see. Well, I mean, they're not there, but it's a set, you know. But I did sit on the rock that the door was built on. I know.
Yeah.
What did it feel like? I
It
mean, that's
felt.
hallowed ground, right?
I was the only one there. Like, I was surprised because I thought there would be more. You know, I thought it would be more touristy, but I was the only one there. So
People just don't know anymore.
they
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
You know,
It's just
they don't know
imagine
the old magic.
imagine just that private moment with you and the stone where Vigo pushed the doors open. I imagine that was a very intimate moment for you. Like, just you must have just like been. Like, if I'd experienced that, I think every time I close my eyes, that's where I'd be. 100%.
I believe it. Alright, so that made me sound like a dick, but we were joking about this before the recording.
Oh,
so
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not just ragging.
I tell you what, if
I'm not ragging on
everyone's
Fraser.
if there's like Patreon subscribers to Spotlight Indie, then you might be able to understand what this is about. But for everybody else, this is a great way to reel people into the Patreon.
Yeah, this is why you need to go into the Patreon.
Exactly,
Oh.
right? Exactly.
If you want to experience millennial rage,
Mm,
subscribe to the Patreon.
Exactly.
yes.
I think is the moral of the story.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Well, leaving that for Patreon and all of our lovely Patreon subscribers, Fraser, where would you go to write if you could do it from anywhere?
Well, I answered last time because this was a question that came out last time, but I'm going to change my answer. Because the last time I answered that it would be like in this liminal space where time could stop and you could just have the time to write whatever you wanted. And that liminal space would be a room in a shack on Barbados that I could just like, once I'm done writing, I go out and I sit on the beach. That to me would be a great place to write from. Now, I want to write on a desk made out of those doors that Viggo Mortensen pushed in the spot where he pushed them open. And I want every single word that I write to be Gondor calls for aid. Like, that's it. That's all I want. I want the lighting of the beacons like to happen around me as I'm writing. I want people opening doors, sweaty. You know, that's my dream place to write right now. And preferably surrounded by flocks of free falcons who are nesting on a giant tree. That for me would be, that's where I'm gonna write Blut and his adventures in Iceland.
But Fraser, how are you going to make a desk out of car doors?
Magic. Look, it is going to.
was that below the belt? I'm sorry.
Honestly, I like
Talking about
the Green Book.
glitching.
I like the Green Book. It's a good movie. It's a good movie. He drives people around. It's not to love, you know? I'm just saying, like, you know the bit where he breaks his toe when he kicks the helmet and goes, "Ah!"
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my inner person right now. Like,
I believe it. Well, given all this chat, then I will have to pick my writing spot as I'll be somewhere in Fangorn Forest as Treebeard learns falconry. And that'll just be my inspiration of him.
That'd be good.
Learning falconry. I feel like the eagles are too big for him. Like, falcons will be too small for him to do falconry. But do you think the eagles would be too big for him to have them on his hand?
I don't know. I don't think the Eagles would want to be controlled by anything. I think he would have to ask them politely if they would. His idea of falconry would be, please, 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 come land on me. Right? It wouldn't be sort of like, there you go, there's the perch. It would be like, come on, guys, come on, just once. Right? Although for him, it'd be like, come on, just once.
I feel like they get bored before he finishes that. Like, please land here.
Please. That's where you want to write, Alex.
It will be like, like white noise in the background, just him talking, just this creaking entish. And then if he's got any critiques, it'll take him so long to say them that I'll wander off. I'm not listening to it, Treebeard. Stop it. He only like reads rom-coms. I'm not writing a rom-com. He's not the right audience.
Yeah, the meet cutes he's seen, honestly.
Exactly.
Well, I gotta say, we got like timeless liminal spaces in a shack, and we've also got like Fangorn Forest. I didn't know we could choose like fictional places.
Yeah.
Yeah, where would you choose if it was fictional?
If it was fictional, well, I mean, I'd still like New Zealand isn't fictional. I'd still love to go there to write, but I think I would choose like a cozy fantasy cafe, like in Legends and Lattes. Like, I think I'd love to just hang out with friendly orcs. That's really my only motivation. I'm sorry, I did not think.
Basically, what you're doing now is what's happening.
Very orcish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that was very enlightening. I mean, I'm pretty sure if there was going to be a fantasy cafe, it would be in New Zealand. So I feel like you're only one interdimensional dragon ride away from having your real world and fictional world writing place.
That's fair. I think that's the message I'm taking away from this.
100%. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, Fraser, do you want to roll for us and we'll have another question?
I'll roll. I rolled a 2.
2. What software do you use for writing and what are its best features?
Google Docs. And you can write on anything. So if you're out and about, you can go into a project and bada bing, bada boom. And if you're... Oh, actually, do you know what? I actually write using a notebook now. I do it like all the proper, like old school. I don't know if it's because I'm getting old. It probably is. Because I remember Lord of the Rings. So I write in a notebook and then I type it into Google Docs. I am also using Campfire, which is an experimental sort of thing to write a current project, and that has got some extra features that are very, very useful and you can use across platforms. So shout out to the guys at Campfire for creating a very cool bit of writing software. But yeah, I think that for me, the key part of it is, so you've got to be able to do it on the fly, because my writing routine is so fragmented because of also being a parent and working and all of this kind of stuff. So my time for writing is snatched. I can't sort of like buy out enough time for it. So yeah, but you can't beat a notebook. You just can't. Notebooks for life.
I feel like when you
the
write...
magic of old.
Yeah.
Yes.
The old magic. I feel like, when you do write with a pen, it just connects differently to your brain. When I'm like, if I get stuck on something, I'll write physically with the pen because then it just flows a bit differently and it helps me solve a problem.
I do have a question though about this magic of old, like these supposed notebooks that you use that aren't like laptop notebooks.
Ask away, Kerstin.
When you write in these notebooks and then you transfer them into, I'm guessing like Google Docs or whatever, do you like edit on the fly, or do you put exactly what you wrote from your notebook?
Well,
what is this magic witchcraft?
Speaketh thee of writing me. I think that my answer to that is that because the notebook forces you to write slower, you write better. And when I'm typing it up, I can see glaringly obvious things that I could have done better, and I will tweak as I go, so that as I'm typing up, I'm giving it almost like a free editing pass. And then I'm also able in my notebook to then work with it. So, for example, if something happens later on, I will then go back and say, sort of like in a different pen or pencil or something, I'll circle a bit, and then I'll be like, see earlier, and I'll put like pull like the page down and like put a mark on it, and I know that that bit needs to go back in that bit. So I'm kind of using both sort of, when you watch like a movie that has like a really twisted serial killer in it, and they've got notebooks, and you open them up and it's just crazy. There's text going up the pages, really tiny, really big, and it's like, that's what my notebooks end up looking like. I don't know what that says about me, but yeah. But that's basically what my end. So you would open. If there's anybody out there who's like a set designer for a really gritty crime show that needs some notebooks, let me know. You can use them. But like, that's what they end up looking like. I mix the two things up together when it comes to editing on the fly. So does that answer your question, Kerstin?
It does. Because like I try like making notes, like, but I've never like been able to sort of freestyle write in a notebook.
I tell you what was great. I put in some stream of consciousness stuff into a notebook, and I was writing so fast. But what was crazy about it is that it was all sort of there. When I was reading it back and typing it up, I was like, oh, that's great. Like, I don't need to do anything with that. That's like, and it's very rare that happens. So maybe I just need to think less and like write faster in my notebook for everything. Maybe that's the big takeaway. Don't think quite so much.
Yeah. Well, if you think too much, you might start editing it as it's coming out, and then it's not. Maybe that's it. You just need to trust your instincts and let the muse flow directly through you.
I think it's because thinking for me is not something that comes naturally. So, so I have to put so much effort into it that it's like, do you know what? Maybe just stop. Maybe just blag it. Just go with your gut.
You're a master storyteller. You just need to, just let your mind storytell without thinking.
And it's also good practice for when the AI revolution happens, right? Because we're gonna, like, how else are we gonna write books? Like, yeah, it's going back to basics. Like, I've got the wrist action. Like, look at that. Look at that. Just look. Yeah, that you don't get that.
I'm not even tired.
You don't. I could do this all day, baby. Like, yeah. Kerstin, what about you?
Yeah.
What software do you use for writing, and what are the advantages?
Like literally just Microsoft Word. Like, it has a comment function. It has spell check most of the time, and then when I'm done, I just upload it into Google Docs. Like for these mythical beta readers that we were talking about at some point. Oh, it's all
eons ago.
Like 12 minutes ago. Yeah.
In the older 12 minutes prior. Yeah.
Yeah, like I write with Word, like almost exclusively. And then when I've got like maybe the third draft down, I kind of use like the free ebook converter from Readsy to like format into an ebook, just the preliminary, like, you don't have to know a whole lot about formatting. You just kind of throw it in, tweak a bit, and then it like kind of spits out an ebook. And then I go through that for editing, because I think seeing different formats really helps in the editing process, because you're so used to seeing like Word. I am, geez, like just like flashbacks of my thesis, even like just everything. My life is Word, but then like just seeing it in like ebook format, or even printing it out as an author copy before it goes live. So that helps. So I can see like what you mean about writing it in a notebook in this olden magic with with all this witchcraft, and then like transferring it into a Google Doc to sort of see it from a different like in a different format.
Yeah.
I think
I
it's
think
really helpful.
what I used to do is I would write in one font and then I would change the font of the entire document into a different font when I started editing it so that I could pick out all that kind of stuff. I kind of do that naturally because nobody can read my scriggles. So that's like, it's like having that font detector where it's like, oh, I've clearly made an error here because you're seeing it from there onto a different font. It's like the Uber version of that. But yeah, living life in Microsoft Word, it's a great program to be living in. It's just, I really hope you've managed to avoid the little paperclip because
She's
that
been
guy,
gone for a while.
oh, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. I mean, we thought guinea pigs were bad, but that guy, honestly, do you need some help? It's like, oh, I'm fine. I'm doing okay.
I don't even use paper clips anymore. Just in real life.
Virtual or real. Yeah. When was the last time you used a paperclip?
I don't remember. Must be something for like, I don't know. Germany's quite known for bureaucracy, so I was probably paper clipping something to apply for a license for something. I don't remember, but it's a lot of paperwork involved, but I must have repressed all that.
I used several last week.
Oh,
Yeah.
coming in strong with the paper clips.
Have you seen the Green Book?
Do
you know what Lord of the
green
Rings
books
is?
around here?
What's your software of choice, Alex? Is it paper clips? Do you like to write with them?
Yeah, I find you were saying you sort of it's writing with the pen slows you down. So if I've got to craft every paperclip into a different letter, it really slows down the process.
You're not editing required. Like, that would be great.
I know there is. That's really painful.
Imagine you spelt one word wrong. Like, ah!
I mean, it's worse when I've written a paragraph on the entire living room floor, and then my dog comes back in from the walk and just knocks it all down. I mean, I think I've got to find a different way to write. I might go Google Docs actually. Yeah, no, I use Google Docs because of what you were saying about being able to do it anywhere. I used to use Scrivener and like Word kind of interchangeably a little bit, but I have like my computer and then a laptop I would take in when I was commuting, and it wouldn't always, like, I'd use Dropbox to try and sync the files, but it wouldn't always work like quickly enough, or I thought it was done and it wasn't, and then you open a file, especially with Scrivener, and it locks it, and then it would like I get home and think, oh great, it's like, oh, we've got a conflicting file, like which one do you want to use? Like, I don't know. I like one of these, like there's 600 words I'm gonna have to rewrite. So then I moved to Google Docs because then I can pick it up on whatever machine, it's fine. And I also bought myself a little foldable keyboard for my phone, so I can do it on my phone, and it's like a little ergonomic keyboard that folds up and it's Bluetooth, so I can just, because I hate typing on my phone. Like, this is why I never text anybody. I really hate typing on my phone.
That's what you need Kestrels for.
Yeah.
So they can do the WhatsApp for you.
Exactly. Right. Well,
and if you haven't watched last week's episode, you now need to go watch last week's episode to understand any of that.
And just as a follow-up, if you see there is a Conservancy Trust, Hawke Conservancy Trust down the road from me. So if you see any news stories about the Hawke Conservancy Trust losing a bird, it's fine. It just means I'm going to text people back more. It's fine. Don't worry about it. All right, I am going to roll on this table, and we'll get our third question. And what's that? That is a 17. So how do you combat writer burnout? Kerstin, how do you combat writer burnout?
Well, I am the worst person to ask because I experienced a long bout of writer burnout. I was actually missing from the socials for over a year. And it just, because it's not just the writing burnout, right? It's everything else that goes around it. So yeah, like a lot of us have like day jobs, a lot of us have like extra things that sort of prevent us from focusing on writing full time on our creative pursuits. So for me, like, I slowly burned out I should sound less excited. My guinea pigs are like, it was basically I was slowly burning out, and then like the fire just extinguished. Like, there was this like slow burnout and then end. And the thing is, like, we're never really good at gauging how far we can go with things, right? We're always thinking like, oh, just a little while, like we can keep going, but then suddenly, bam, like it's lights out, and then it's really hard to get that spark back once it's gone completely. So I'm the wrong person to ask. I was kind of out of the game for a while, but I think what really helped me get back into the game was sort of figuring out why it was gone to begin with, because it's not like we suddenly stop being creative and we lose the skill that makes us like stop writing. It's either like sort of some sort of internalized perfectionism, like it's not perfect, so I can't move forward. Or maybe it's something completely irrelevant, like my day job is sort of sucking the soul out of me, which may sound oddly specific, but I'm not going to say that was the reason, but it could be a reason for many of us, that it's just like it doesn't leave a lot of time to be creative, because a lot of people are just like, yeah, just write like after work or write in your free time, but you can't just like switch off like work mode. You can't switch off, like, for example, family mode. You have to be in a certain zone. And I thought that was my mistake. I thought that not being in that mode anymore meant my creativity was gone, right? So I kind of just accepted it. I was like, whatever, I guess this is my life now. Like, and I mean, this is a cautionary tale. It sounds very, very sad, but I'm saying it as a cautionary tale. Um, that's nonsense. Your creativity's not gone. It's just not in the right environment. Something in in my case at least, like something in my life had to change, like seeing things differently, like sort of balancing like work, like like family, friend, all those obligations that we have to deal with on the side in addition to writing. um it's like, I don't want to say something cheesy like it's just the mindset, because that sounds super corporate, but like just not viewing it as like running out of creativity, not viewing it as, oh, I suck, like this must mean that I wasn't cut out for this world, or like or just having sort of a creative burnout or a writing burnout has nothing to do with you as a writer or a creative. There are so many factors, and the question is, it's like, how do you get back into it after burning out? I think one, acknowledging that basically like burning out doesn't mean you're a bad writer. Just as with anything, right? Like burning out doesn't mean you're a bad XYZ, right? Like if you burn out at work, doesn't mean you're a bad employee. If you burn out, like at a certain sport, it doesn't mean you're bad at that sport. It just means like maybe you're overwhelmed. Maybe you're expecting, like your expectations are a little higher than what you can deliver at the time, which is very, very discouraging, especially for folks that have like ADHD, like me. Like, you take all these things, just like a waterfall instead of just like little drops at a time. Um, so I think basically what got me out of the burnout, like, I'm still getting out of it, to be honest. Like, hi, after 1.5 years of disappearing, just basically not seeing your creative worth in what you can produce at a given time, because we all have our deadlines, like, oh, we have to write a book a year, or like, oh, we have to do this or that, and sometimes life just gets in the way. And if you don't meet your goal, it doesn't mean you're a bad writer. It doesn't mean you have to believe that narrative about yourself, which is probably self-imposed, as it was with me. um and I think just like having the mentality that any creative output um helps. Like, even if you write like 2 sentences a day, it's better than, or at least in my case, or I'm speaking about me, by the way, like it's better than like having a goal of like, all right, I have this weekend off like from work, so I'm going to write like 50 pages, right? I burned out really fast because of that, because my expectations for myself were a lot higher than what I could reasonably, I don't want to say produce because it sounds so corporate, what I could reasonably do at the time that I gave myself, right? Like, yeah, okay, I have a little time off of work, so I'm going to write 10 pages. That's nonsense. That's and if you keep missing these deadlines, of course you're gonna think you're a failure, right? So I guess to get out of that, this is a really long answer and I'm not really saying anything, but like to get out of that, I feel like, one, be kind to yourself. Two, acknowledge like to yourself as well that these self-imposed deadlines are, even if you don't meet them all the time, doesn't mean you're a bad writer. It just means, like maybe you're not inspired or maybe something else is going on. And just don't believe that you're a failure as a writer. Like, and I guess that sort of helped me out of it, writing a few sentences at a time, like getting back in touch with author friends, like sort of rereading some of my older work, like my first book. Like, oh, like why did I ever give up on this? Like, like um and then maybe it could help you out in like other aspects of your life, because I thought, hey, something has to change in these aspects of my life. Like maybe I feel overworked, maybe I feel overwhelmed, maybe I'm putting too much pressure on myself for whatever reason, right? um I think it does, like burnout is definitely a bad thing. I'm not saying, like I'm not saying it's a life-changing sort of, like to see the light or anything, but I think it did force me to reevaluate what was important in my life. Um and like I really enjoy writing, like, I love it. I really enjoy art. Um and just sort of convincing myself, and as creatives, we kind of, like I keep mentioning, we kind of are convinced that we're the worst creatives in the world, but just sort of like convincing ourselves of the opposite. Like, yes, I have something to offer, like we all have our distinct voices, writing 2 sentences a day, or a page a day. Like, there, maybe be kinder to yourself with these deadlines, and like I was working on the first draft of my third book, like which I'm done with, by the way, because of this whole like seeing the light moment. But it's like your first draft, words on paper, it's like basically feeling, it's unstructured. I guess depending on how you work. For me, it's unstructured, like unstructured stream of consciousness sort of thing. That's what the second draft is for. And if you're not satisfied, that's what the third draft is for, the fourth, the fifth, as many times as you want, because editing something is easier when it's already there, right? Like, um, so each iteration will get easier and easier and easier. So I guess that's what kind of brought me out. Like, so I guess if I were to summarize this, I'm sorry, it was super long-winded. I would say, like, be kind to yourself. Just because you don't meet a deadline, it doesn't mean you're a bad writer. Even if you don't write for like weeks or months, it's okay. We all go through it. Um, but reinforcing, like, telling yourself that you're a bad writer because you didn't meet XYZ expectations. Maybe you sold like one book in 6 months, like I've been there. Maybe you sold no books in 6 months. Like, that's what causes the burnout, not the actual writing, but these expectations that not maybe like maybe not from yourself, but also from maybe social media. I took a break for a year. Like seeing how everyone else is doing and thinking they're doing better than you, and it's nonsense. Like, that's, for me personally, that was the cause of burnout. Not because I ran out of things to say, but because I thought I had to say things. I thought I had to meet certain deadlines, criteria, whatever. Um,
I think that's really interesting, and thank you for all of that, because I think that was really important to hear about your journey of hitting burnout as well. And I think that's very important to hear, because I'm sure there's probably a lot of people who will hear elements of maybe their own exhaustion and closing in on burnout, or from what you've been saying. Certainly I can recognize certain elements of that from what I'm doing, like what you saying about the deadlines, and like, I'm going to have this weekend off, I'm going to smash through 50 pages, I'm going to
right.
do like 20,000 words. I have definitely thought that. And then you get to the other side of that weekend and you've not done 50,000 words. You've done, like, even if you've done like 2,000, you're like, ugh, I'm such a failure. And I think,
Right.
as you're saying, with social media, there's can be a lot of pressure, especially with there's certain indie sort of spaces where people are releasing like a book a month or whatever,
Right.
and you just feel like you're falling further and further and further and further behind, and then you're
Two
suddenly,
sentences.
yeah, exactly, 2 sentences is fine. As you say, you can step away from it, come back to it, and you just need the space you need. So yeah, I think that's very important to hear all of that. So thank you very much for sharing all of that. To add my own thoughts as well, I think taking that rest time. If you've got a weekend off, maybe don't think you're going to smash it with like 20k or 50 pages or whatever. If you don't have to, like, I found it really good relatively recently. Like, I think as writers and creators, we can have like this pressure in the back of our mind at all times. Like, you're thinking, well, I could be writing right now, so I must. So it can be very difficult to actually rest. And I think I just took a day where I was like, you know what, I'm not going to do anything. I'm making conscious effort a conscious decision that I'm not going to do anything today. And I just I did some reading, I watched some stuff, and I felt so much better afterwards because I'd actually taken the time to allow myself to reset. And I always think of creating as breathing out, and you can't just breathe out forever. You will eventually faint and hit your head and go to the hospital. So you need to breathe in, which is, it's consuming. It's reading the books of your amazing friends. It's, watching TV series you like, or just trying to think of tropes that you enjoy and want to shove in your writing and stuff like that. So I think, that rest and recharging is really important as well, very consciously, I think, and not making sure that you are consciously making that decision so you don't feel guilty about not writing 20,000 words.
Ice cream, guys. Ice cream is the way to do it. Like, whenever I feel like I am reaching burnout, I will go and grab a tub of ice cream. I'll eat the entire thing, and at the end of it, it will be a reminder that actually, you know what, things don't look quite as bad when your belly is full of ice cream. It's like, I feel like whatever mechanism you use to extinguish, if you're burning the candle at both ends, you need to extinguish one of those. So whatever mechanism you use to do that works for you, whether that's taking rest, whether that's consciously stepping away, being kind to yourself, treating yourself, whatever it is. But for me, it's ice cream. Like, you just get to the end of a thing of ice cream and it's just like, do you know what? The world's not so bad. I mean, look what I just did. I just ate all of that. I'm doing okay, right? And that's I think that an awful lot of burnout, like what's been expressed already, is not because of the stories. It's because of everything that comes with getting those stories into the world. And I think sometimes if you are a writer who is suffering from burnout, when it is the stories, maybe a good practice would be to maybe not try and impose yourself so much on what you're writing, and just allow yourself to listen to what the story is telling you. Because I think sometimes we can get so fixated on this has to be done by this date that we get ourselves into a state, and the story is just not going to be ready by then because we haven't, because we've got to abandon ourselves to it to be able to write. And if the story's not happening in that frame of time, you can't force it. So I feel like also sort of recognizing that aspect of storytelling, that you're not entirely in control of what is coming to you, is kind of, because I mean, and that's where ice cream helps again. You just sit down, you eat a bowl of it, it gives you thinking time. Any ice cream provider should sponsor this show. Anyone.
I'm kind of half expecting you to like pull out like some ice cream from the side where the mark, like where the brand is perfectly visible.
I'm currently defrosting it. That's what I'm saying on. That's what.
I assumed you were hatching a kestrel egg.
No, I feel as though burnout is something that if you recognize it and you don't do anything about it, it's gonna, like what you said earlier, Kerstin, really resonated, which is that it's just like your flame goes out. Like it's, and if you can recognize it and take steps, then we can be busy without experiencing burnout. It just takes an awful lot of self-awareness, I think. And to have learned that, coming back into the writing community, I think is going to be really good for you. So I'm really chuffed that you've got that you're going into it with your eyes open as to what matters and what doesn't matter. And I really hope that you've only light one end of the candle this time and not both.
Yeah, like no, I'm really excited to be back. And you're right, it does help having experienced that because like I said, I think we're all experts at like, all right, just one more, like, just a little longer, just a little longer. But I think that's the danger of burnout. It comes without warning. Like you have like all these little signs, but I mean, we're all used to having a little bit of stress in our lives. So, you know, we kind of convince ourselves that it's just your normal everyday stress. And then suddenly it's lights out. So you're right. I think if you can at least like recognize those like slow burning phases, it's like, all right, I remember this, like I remember this with dread. And just like taking the steps to sort of take care of yourself, um protect your mental health, like protect your, self-worth as a writer, and not associate it with this burnout, I think is a really important lesson.
Hmm.
Um like just in general, if in any creative pursuit, I think, you know.
Totally. And make sure you've got your freezer stocked. And if you're lactose intolerant, sorbet. It's a good alternative.
I'm still expecting like this bucket of ice cream with the brand clearly visible.
Yeah, no, we have no sponsorship for this show, but with the amount I talk about ice cream, we should, right?
Yeah, the UK dairy industry should definitely be sponsoring just Frasier, not this show, just Frasier.
Just edit both of us out, Alex.
I am like a vanilla soft scoop ice cream came to life. That's what I am. Like, I feel like every time I eat ice cream, I feel like I'm communing with my origin story is what's happening. It's like, yeah. Anyway, yeah,
Should we-
100% on people's bingo cards. As soon as I leant into the mic, 100%. I bet when Holly watches this back, she's like, he's going to say ice cream, isn't he? 100%.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, that happens. I suspect like 50% of whenever you say anything is like he's going to talk about ice cream.
True.
Definitely
True.
that. Okay, right. So we have all done a sort of an in-depth question. Now we've got the quick fire round. So we're all going to roll, and then Kerstin, you're going to pick one of the numbers. Right. So everybody roll. Kerstin,
I've
what
got
did you get?
19.
19. Excellent.
Yeah.
Frasier,
Oh, I got 11, but
11.
19.
I know.
Wow.
I got 4. I thought you were going to roll
Oh.
4, Kerstin.
I got 19. What was that when I rolled for charm? Damn it.
Right. So we have 4. Sorry, Frasier, what was yours?
11.
11 and 19. Which number would you like? Should I say the questions, or should we keep those secret?
Let's keep it a secret.
Okay.
Who's choosing the number? Is it me or
You?
is it?
Yeah.
It's me. Well, I like prime numbers and I like the number 9, so I'm actually gonna go with my number. It sounds super conceited. Like I like my number. Like, let's go with prime number with a 919.
You're allowed to choose your number. That's good.
It is a high number.
Exactly. So the question is, what do you listen to when you're writing? I think we might have touched on this last week, so we get to go a bit more in depth with it now.
All right, so I don't know how to go more in depth with it, but just like the Clair Obscure soundtrack on repeat, just the entire Sandfall playlist. I haven't changed it in months. But like I said, like, creative pursuits, like, video game music inspires other creative pursuits. So I don't feel bad at all. Just blasting my ears with the Simon theme.
So do you usually go from like one soundtrack to the other? Or do you think once you're done with the Clair Obscura, are you going to move to a different soundtrack? Or is it like per project once you're done with book 3?
That's what usually happens, but I've been listening to Clair Obscure for months now on repeat and nothing else. I know it's a little sick, but I don't see it changing anytime soon. It covers all the emotions on my spectrum, so do give it a shot. So they're not sponsoring us either. So like the ice cream manufacturers and Sandfall's not sponsoring us either.
Frasier, what about you?
So I tend not to listen to things when I write unless I'm doing a writing sprint through Spotlight Indie, in which case we're all listening to the lovely music of Alan Stroud, which is excellent to listen to when we do our live write along sprints. However, I will tell you this one very quick story. I needed to get a load of art coursework done when I was in the 6th form, and in order to power me through, I put on a CD that came free from the paper that had the final countdown on it. And when I got to the final countdown, I was like, this is great. I'm just going to shove this on repeat. 7 hours of the final countdown passed, and I had this home cinema system I was blaring it through. So the entire block could hear it. At the 7th hour, at the end of hour 7, my dad walked into my room, ejected the CD, opened the window, and threw it out, and said, "I never want to hear that song again." But since that day, every day since I was 17, the final countdown has happened once in my brain, especially when I'm doing anything creative. So even if there's no music, when I'm writing, I'm probably hearing the final countdown.
Always the final countdown.
And it's the specific bit of where the drums go. That's the bit. Yeah.
Well, I don't have a, I don't know, trauma song playing.
Hey, I'm telling you, like, show some love for the final countdown, people. It's great. It's great.
The trauma song.
Yeah.
But I have, similar to you, Kerstin, I have like a playlist of usually soundtracks to games, but they're like thematic to what I'm writing. So at the moment, it's kind of like Bronze Age setting that I'm going for. So I've got like Total War Troy and that kind of stuff. So I tend to, if I'm listening to it, if I'm writing somewhere like at home where it's relatively quiet, that's what I'll be on. But if it's on like a train, sometimes I'll just like crank in the metal to try and just drown everybody out. So that's my choices: either some nice soundtracks or just people screaming at me in my ears.
I like the people screaming.
Yes.
It's good. It's good.
It's very inspiring.
Yeah.
It is. It lights a fire under you.
Yeah.
Final countdown.
I tell you, if that doesn't light a fire under you, I don't know what will.
I mean, speaking of like writer burnout, I mean, that's the solution, really.
Yeah. Just put the final countdown on repeat. Yeah. You heard it here first, people. Yeah.
Well, speaking of the final countdown, we are on the final countdown of this episode.
Did that just happen?
It did.
Whoa.
It's all right. I'll edit it out so you're reacting to something completely different.
No, that Alex, that was.
Well, as I say, we're on the final countdown of this week's chat. So thank you so much for joining us, and thank you, Kerstin, for joining us. It has been an absolute pleasure to have you here for 2 weeks. And I think, actually, having said this, we are soon going to have you join us again at the been joined by you at the Big Indie Weekend, like last week or 2-3 weeks ago. Where are these interdimensional dragons when I need them to transport me through space and time? So thank you so much for joining us just in many iterations through many weeks. It has been an absolute pleasure. So as we round off this week, could you let people know where they can find you and your books and come and find your lovely self and your lovely works?
All right. Well, I'm mostly on Instagram. My tag is KE Rosero, just like how it's displayed here. You could find my artwork and information about my books.
Perfect. Fraser, where can people find you? In the ice cream aisle?
In the ice cream aisle, listening to the final countdown. Yeah, you will find me leaving for Venus, but still it's farewell. Or maybe they've seen us from Earth, who can tell? They will. No, I feel.
I was like super intrigued. It's like, what is Venus? And then he kept going, and
I guess there is no one to blame.
And then I got sucker punched.
Mm-hmm. So in terms of where you can find me online, you can find me at Fraser Armitage. You can find me at fraserarmitage.com. You mainly find me on Insta these days on the socials. And you can find me next week here on Spotlight Indie, where I will be speaking to one of our speakers who is going to be at the Spotlight event in May at the Shrewsbury Flax Mills, which is going to be very exciting. So tune in next week and we'll get an idea as to who you might see if you come and join us in Shrewsbury.
Amazing. And you can find out more about that on spotlightindie.co.uk, as well as Spotlight Indie socials, which is, Spotlight Indie on all the places. So as Roger's mentioned, we've got an amazing in-person event this year on the 23rd of May at the Flax Mill in Shrewsbury. It's going to be amazing. Next week, come find out one of the speakers who's going to be there. We're going to have traders as well. We currently still have trader tables as well. So if you would like to be a trader at that event, let me know. Reach out to me and we can sort that out. But it's going to be absolutely amazing. We've got panels, we've got performances, we've got traders. It's just going to be a really fantastic weekend. So
just it's traders, not traitors, right? Because a lot of people, if you're saying we've got traitors there, right, then everyone's going to come expecting something that
I mean, I'm not revealing anything at this stage. That's all to come. If you
Claudia Winkleman will not be there, okay?
But you might see people with knives. So just turn up. You have to come along to find out what's going on. That's what I'm saying. Okay, that feels like a good moment to stop talking. So I'm gonna,
Thanks for having me.
Thank you again. Yeah, thank you. It's been really a real joy. So we're so pleased that you're back. You're back just generally in the community, and that we get to chat to you. So thank you so much. So go check out Kerstin's stuff, Kerstin's books, her art. And thank you so much. And we will see you all soon.
Falcons!